It's remarkable to be visiting Rome, the eternal city that really wants to break out of that box, from Los Angeles, a city constantly boxed in as one of entertainment and entertainment only. And I'm going to be talking about a huge number of boxes today, one of which actually contains a mythical creature that I call a hedge fox, which is a combination of a hedgehog and a fox. But I'll get to that later. The first thing I want to do is I actually want to talk a little bit about this secret war between downloading and uploading. And I want to talk about it from the perspective of intelligence services. I'm going to tell you something. We're only an hour, a little bit more than an hour into this remarkable live event, and I've been watching you. Well, I've been watching you, and I've been watching you, and I've been watching you. And I've been watching you use your technology already to get more information by Googling, to Instagram yourselves as proof that you're here. And, you know, when you're even getting a little bit bored, you're going on Twitter and you're checking entertainment sites. Well, look, an American who comes to Italy and says he's watching you, you immediately assume I'm from the National Security Agency. I'm not. But I am someone who's interested in this notion of unpacking boxes. But I also know that when you get out of the box, you're in a new box. So I'd like to talk about even the box of TED. Let's move into this. TED, T-E-D in English, of course, stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. But I said that I'm concerned about this secret war between downloading and uploading. And what that means is that I'm fascinated by the way that our technologies are designed to entertain us, to distract us. And what I would like to do, with your indulgence, and I am in Rome, so I assume I can get this from you, I would like to take something and I'd like to turn it on its side. I'd like to take the E in TED and turn it into an M. So I'd like to talk about how we can design technology to encourage meaning. Because meaning is what I care about, meaning is what I think we're here for, and that's really what I'd like to discuss. So, much of this comes from an epiphany I had more than 15 years ago, when everyone was talking about the death of the book, right? That we were not going to read anymore, that we were not going to be, engaged with any kind of decent-sized textuality, that what we were going to be doing was just watching videos on our screens. And I thought that wasn't true. I thought the book would outlive us all, and it's a form that I truly believe in and that I love. And I actually realized that we are in the same moment that our forebears were 150 years ago, when photography lifted the weight of representation off of painting and allowed painting a 100-year run of abstraction, color field, and the exploration of itself. So we're not in a post-print era, we are in a print plus era. And I would like to do a couple of demos today of work that I've done within this space to talk about that. So let's start with demo number one. Remember, they keep coming out of the box. They just keep coming. So, MIT keeps coming up. I do a lot of work with MIT Press, and I was the editorial director for many years of a project called MeteorWork, which essentially allowed me to function as almost a movie producer, but with books. I go out, I find money, then I find authors I think are compelling, and I match them with visual creatives who I think can really make this print more and more plus. There are books about the interpretation and creation of contemporary culture, and I'm going to concentrate on one today where I really think that the models of turning private theory, the kind of private theory that moves through universities and salons, and turn it into public discourse that takes media experimentation and turns it into cultural intervention. So I'm going to take Paul D. Miller, a.k.a. DJ Spooky, That Subliminal Kids book, called Rhythm Science, which says that the DJ who goes into an archive, searches around, takes things out, remixes them, and puts them back, uploads them back into the world, is a key figure in the 21st century. So I worked with Coma, Amsterdam, New York, two remarkable designers, to create a book that was going to have more than one way of being accessed, more than one way of finding meaning. So the first way is just the classic way that we engage with books, which is to read paragraphs. All right, yes, there's a hole in the middle of the book, and yeah, there's a little red dot, but I'm going to come to that in a minute. The second part is to actually look at the way that people use other forms of media, like magazines. And we really wanted to use pull quotes, to pull things out so that someone who is distracted can pick up the book and just rifle through it and get something of what Paul's trying to say about the DJ in the 21st century. Paul himself is an artist. He was the artist in residence at the Metropolitan Museum of New York, or Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York last year, and his work is really small-scale GIFs for postering that we then had Coma sample for a purely visual read. And then finally, he's a DJ. The hole and the little red dot holds Rhythm Science, a CD, which is a sonic exploration of many of these same kinds of issues. So what you have are 4 models of materialized meaning making: textual, pull textual, visual, and oral. And so these are the kinds of things that I'm talking about when I'm talking about Print Plus. In my own work, after doing this project, working with others, well, of course, I wanted to do it for myself. And I wanted to go out and I wanted to find a designer who could really, in many ways, push this experiment to 11, to turn it up past 10. And I think I found that with the Dutch provocateur Mieke Gerritsen. And she worked on this book with me called User Info Techno Demo. Every page, well, it was described as a full frontal assault. Every page, a poster. This is an essay that I wrote on sex and media with the most phallic joystick I've ever seen, illustrating it. So this was my chance to really move out and try to explore this kind of work. My next project was the book from which many of these arguments come from. It was called The Secret War Between Downloading and Uploading: Tales of the Computer as Culture Machine. And I took the last chapter of that, which was called Generations, which was a history of the computer as culture machine, and I decided to open source it. And I worked with Chandler McWilliams, a brilliant artist and programmer, to develop an app called GenText. It's freely available off of the Apple Store, and what you can do is basically look at my arguments, but look at it through new affordances, the kind of affordances that the computer offers to textuality itself. I didn't want to add video, I didn't want to add sound, I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to explore what you could do in new emergent environments. And so what this is it takes the gesture of pinching and reverse pinching and allows you to zoom in and out of various layers of my argument. From a tweetable, just tiny section, to a paragraph description, to a full page, to the entirety of the argument, and then back again. The little white dots are your fingertips moving backwards and forwards. And you'll see this in one moment as this begins to... Oh, it's all over. All right, so you had a chance to see that. Now, I've been talking about uploading. I've been talking about uploading meaningfully. But the reality is, if you only talk about uploading, you're ignoring our human lives. All great musicians listen to more music than they play. All great writers read more than they write. And the reality is we all download vastly more culture than we consume, than we produce. And so what I would like to talk about is an emerging field called digital humanities that really brings this together as a way to talk about different modes of access to, well, and I'm in Rome, so I don't really have to explain the humanities to the people who invented the humanities, right? Cicero to Petrarch, you really taught the rest of the world that literature, history, philosophy, these are the key things that humans create and that must be maintained, must be preserved, and must be passed on to the next generation. And we have new tools with which to do that. And that's why I co-wrote a book with 4 other colleagues, Anne Burdick, Johanna Drucker, Todd Pressner, and Jeffrey Schnapp, called Digital_Humanities. And what we were talking about is bringing these 2 words together. The oldest, most dear things to us, and then the newest technologies. And it's not just answer the old questions faster. It's to create entirely new questions. So what does this mean? It means Franco Moretti at Stanford and his lab is moving from the way we were all trained to do close reading, to look at a poem and analyze it line by line, to taking whole bodies of text and inputting them and then running searches. Here we have him, or his people, are going through 250 novels from England in the 19th century and running various kinds of analyses on them to see how the word country and rural show up, to show what happens in the 19th century as England urbanizes. Here is my good friend and colleague Lev Manovich looking at 1 million manga on an interactive touchscreen hyperwall as a way to analyze them both visually and textually. Here's my colleague at UCLA using geolocative surfaces to explore historic Filipino town, both geographically and historically. Here is another colleague at UCLA, Chris Johansson and Rome Lab, where they're building historically, anthropologically, and architecturally accurate models of the Roman Forum so that the immersive experiences are actually scholarly as opposed to just being entertaining. I promised this is my last box. I said that there was a mythical creature, and that creature is called the hedge fox. And I'm going way back for this, more than 2 millennia, to the Greek poet Archilochus, who said the fox knows many things, but the hedgehog knows one big thing. Isaiah Berlin, the brilliant thinker, said that so many writers and artists could be described as either being foxes or being hedgehogs, right? But I would say that our design of technology encourages us to be foxes, but that things like training in the digital humanities nurture our inner hedgehog. And that in the end, I hope we can all leave today as hedge foxes. Thank you very much.